great way for a delighted John Cleland to start the new season. Second on the grid, first in the race. That'll do nicely. Another 18 left, and will Rydell bog down in the Volvo again? We'll soon know. And the answer is no.
We need to work harder. It's not good enough. 2 engines in 2 races. Not acceptable. The team must push harder. Today, my radar engines must stop blowing up. I'm trying to build a championship.
John Cleland is sandwiched between the 2 BMWs and going for first, says John Cleland. Oh, McNeil sideways, championship leader, entering trouble sideways, he gets it back again. It's Plato and McNeil, side by side.
I'm going to rip your face off. You know what that? I'm going to rip your Hey! What are we doing here? Is this stock car racing or is this motorsport? The man's an animal.
And Colin Turkington is going to become the champion for the 3rd time in his career with 1 race to stand.
Hi again, everyone, and welcome to the new edition of Reverse Grid, unofficial BTCC podcast. I almost forgot the name of the show there, Lee. That's not good, is it? It's testament of where we are in the week. Let's date this podcast straight away, shall we? It's late.
A late night at that as well.
There you go. Reverse Grid, the unofficial BTCC podcast. Chris Tetrock Blay here, as ever, next to the man in charge, really, I consider, Lee Tilston. How you doing?
Right, sir.
Well, you are. You know, I got to say straight off the bat, actually, I know I say this between us, but thank you for everything that you've helped do to drive this show forward in the last couple of months, with the Facebook page and just really having you involved in all these episodes has been fantastic. So,
no, mate, it's been mutual, really, because, you already had something in motion, so it's been quite a bit easy for me to slip into something without having to start completely from scratch. You know more. I mean, it's you that puts together the YouTube and the Spotify and any editing and everything. I wouldn't have a clue where to start with any of that.
For me, that's the easy bit. I think it's key.
I think it's worked really well.
I think it has. Yeah, and that was an unplanned little intro bit I had there, but I am really, I've been looking back on, kind of what we've achieved and where the show was before you came in, and it's turned into what I wanted initially it to be. So, it's great.
And I'd have struggled if all I had was that plain white wall opposite me to try and have a conversation with. It wouldn't have.
It's tricky.
It wouldn't have made a very good podcasting. Just a Scouse accent and nothing more wouldn't have been good for anybody's ears, I don't think.
Anyone who goes back and listens to the early episodes I did, I think there was probably a handful of them that I did by myself. And as all of my podcasts do, they start off like that. They very, very quickly, I have to bring somebody else in because it's just not the same. So we've got a good discussion point this week. Obviously, firstly, running into brands, the final weekend. We're not going to speculate too much on that. I think we will discuss a little bit as we go. But let's kind of unpack what happened at Silverstone, because I, for one, will admit I wasn't. I mean, the title race felt like it was slowing down a little bit. It kind of looks like it's going to go one way, and I thought Silverstone's not the most exciting of tracks to watch. I must admit I was pleasantly surprised. How about you?
Well, we had what's become quite a common theme this season, haven't we, with the weather. There doesn't seem to be many, when you look back, there doesn't seem to be many meetings where you watch it and it's crackling sunshine and you can see that everybody's in short sleeves and there's barbecues going in the background. We seem to have had a lot of cloudy or rainy meetings, don't we, this season? And I certainly know from the 4, I think, that I went to, well, maybe it was 3 BTCC ones anyway, and another one. But I think every weekend, the weather was pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Not knowing what was going to happen, and then we've had Knockhill and Silverstone added into that.
Exactly, and it's like back to almost back to back kind of feels like back to back weekends where we've just had is the weather going to play a factor? That's been the big,
And it spiced things up, though. It
it
certainly hasn't.
does. Prior
For
to
a
this
little
season,
while,
I,
a little while at Silverstone, I thought the championship was back on. I really did. And I just thought
and
it wasn't there.
Again, I will bring this up during anyway because it's a good it's something that came to mind this week as I was kind of delving back into watching some of the previous stuff. It could yet be on. Knowing what BTCC's like, let's not count our chickens too early. There could be some drama at Brands, and let's hope there is. I think because I don't like the idea that the championship could be settled in the first race. If it is fantastic. Well done, Ash. If that's the case, I want it to go down as close as it can. And it's a 2-horse race, which I'd like it when there's more within it, even if they're outsiders. But
the BTCC social media is doing a pretty good job of trying to make it as on the edge and on the line as possible, aren't they? And they've put some good build up, with the pictures, I think, of Ingram and
Hunter,
giving it the old stare, and it's all down to this. But really, it should be a bit of a walk in the park. But I mean, Paul O'Neill said it perfectly. We had a brilliant example. Which was and Andrew Jordan, very similar back in 2013, and for a while it looked like it was over, didn't it?
It did, and this was the point I was going to make. Yeah. So this was I over the last couple of weeks I've been watching the 2013 review whenever I could, and I got to that point this week where I watched the final, and that completely. This was I watched the season as it happened. This is one of the first seasons that I remember watching. I completely forgot the drama.
I was the same. I watched it a couple of months ago. I think it was probably during the summer break or something. And it's one of those. I'll be honest. Because the reviews these days are so long, they're like 7 hours. It's hard to watch them. So a lot of the last 10 years have kind of all merged into about 3 years, really. And then you look back and I was the same. I'd forgotten how tight it went.
5 drivers went into Brands, mathematically able to do it. Andrew Jordan 35 points ahead of Matt Neal, who's in second. So Ash has only got 10 points to play with, more than that. And in that last one, because the Hondas had a horrific day, which played into the hands of Jason Plato, who got 2 wins. Yeah. And all of a sudden he goes into the last race 15 points behind. It's in second. It's like he could have pulled it off.
And you'd be starting ahead of them as well.
Exactly, because Andrew Jordan started from the back because he didn't finish the second race. Yeah.
And then even more recently, remember 2019 and again, Colin Turkington, pretty much you think he's going to walk it. Then Agent Neil takes him out. And
see, I was absent for this season, so I didn't experience
and it was, that 92 are the two most... Well, I mean, obviously, I didn't witness 1992 live. That's something I didn't really discover the touring cars for another few years, but I still maintain, and I'm a huge football fan, but that's the most dramatic sporting moment I've witnessed live. That 2019 finale when Dan Camish had suffered his brake failure, and Colin Turkington won it. I've never celebrated a touring car race as much as I did that day, and it's just for pure sport. It's so dramatic.
Well, I kicked this episode off by saying we're not going to really speculate too much on Brands, but you can't help it, can you? It's a BTCC podcast. It's finals weekend.
You never get a dull finale though. No. Even some of the ones which I think the 2008 one was pretty much wrapped up in the first race, Giovinardi and Jason Plato. But I remember that being a really exciting, really good race because there was nothing to lose then. No one had anything, none of the drivers had anything to lose. I think Matt Jackson ended up snatching second place from Jason Plato. I think he might have won a couple of races and came from them. So there's always something going on. It won't be dull. No matter what, it won't be dull. And Brands is a great track. I don't think you can get dull racing at Brands Hatch.
No, I was about to say that actually. Yeah,
especially on the GP track as well, which is always always brilliant.
So Silverstone, we've already touched on the fact that the weather was, it's going to be. It was one of those things. I've never, before this season, I've never taken much notice of tyre choice. I must admit, it's one of those things. You talk to me about it, my eyes glaze over. It's something I wasn't really too concerned about. But this season, it's like it's almost like you get it because of the way the weather has played, and you've seen it at Donington. You saw it at Knockhill. We saw it again at Silverstone. How if you've got half the grid taking a punt and starting on the wrong tyre choice, you know that something that was whatever result's going to come out of that race is not going to be what you thought it was at the beginning, and that's what we saw. Before we get that though, qualifying. I'm doing a little bit of for the benefit of video rather than audio. I'm not going to celebrate too much because I need to keep neutral, but it was almost memento really to see somebody interrupt the NAPA Racing juggernaut in qualifying. And
who would have predicted Mikey Doble?
I was going to say exactly that. Who would have thought he was the
We
guy?
were all thinking, could it be Ingram? Could it be a BMW? Maybe Josh Cook or something.
Yeah.
Nobody would. You've got to take your hat off to Power Max Racing, haven't you? And all three drivers, as a team, as a set of drivers, I mean, they've all had such fantastic seasons. They really have.
Really have. And it was. I won't ignore what happened at the beginning of the race because I was heartbroken for him. But let's not take away from
cruel, I thought, almost.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, I think the entire grid seemed to know what was going on, or just the fact that Mikey was at the front and he didn't get the message. Somebody then behind him would have done. He couldn't make good of that pole position at all.
But they mentioned that they were going to have 2 warm-up laps in the build-up, hadn't they? Even the commentators had suggested
right before they then said that it'd been they reverted back to 1, and it's just simply the message. Obviously,
never seen something like that happen before. And
no, there was a few things like that at Silverstone, which I think I hadn't seen, decisions I hadn't seen made before. Which again, I'm sure we'll touch on as we go through. But
what tyres? Can you remember what tyres Mikey Doble was on? Did he in the end? Did he go for wet? Because I think he didn't pit, did he? Because he ended up getting not a bad result.
No, and this is what they were saying. So he was on.
Finished about 10th, didn't he, or 10th or 11th?
Is it those that started on slicks? They were the ones that had to pit to go to wets, didn't they? Yeah. So he was on slicks. So no, he didn't pit. So they were speculating what would have happened to him anyway. How long would he have been out front if he had to pit? But he still managed to pull it up to 11th, I think he finished. Which is a just goes to show, from
that kind of race when you look at where the likes of Camish and Sutton and Ingram all finished, and they were sort of not too far away from on the grid anyway, and he finished ahead of them. So it possibly, with the way the weather worked out, really how it would have worked. So, unfortunately, drama from the off with Mikey Doble, pretty much just sacrificing his lead, his pole position. But Jake Hill making good of that. What did you think of that? Too late in the day for that win to have really meant much realistically, or I didn't know. I like I say, until that safety car came out in race 2, I honestly thought it's going to be on here. I still fancied Ash to win it, the championship, but I thought it's maybe at least going to go down to the last race or the second last race or something like that. It's going to get interesting. I'm trying not to discuss or rant about the safety car incident too much just yet. But no, after that first race with Jake winning, I really thought it was on, because obviously then that Jake's going to be starting the next race on pole. He's in rear wheel drive, so he's going to get a good start. Ashton's down at the back. So it all looked on at the moment. It was unbelievable how it just turned, wasn't it?
No, that's the beauty of this stage of the season. Absolutely love it. Another guy that really benefited, sadly, from Mikey Doble kind of fluffing his start, as it were, was his teammate, Andrew Watson, getting another podium. He was second in the end, wasn't it? So, fantastic result. Double heartache for Doble because it meant he then scored more than him in the Jack Sears Trophy. It's a great result again. It just shows. I saw Aaron Taylor-Smith post this week, and he was like, "What the hell is going on in this second half of the season?" Not even he can believe it.
The oldest car on the grid.
Yeah. But I hope it's got another year out of it. Yeah, I don't know. I think we discussed it
They're
last
showing
time.
up.
It's got
They're
left.
showing up a few teams and a few cars and a few drivers. They really are. It's great to see, and I hope somebody's taking notice. And how well funded are they? Are they pretty well funded? Are they? Or are they on one of the lower budgets? And in
I'm not sure officially. Now I'll
I tell you what, if ever a team deserved a real good,
yeah.
a good sponsor, a really good backing, and a bit more money to throw at it, there's your team and there's your drivers straight
Absolutely.
away.
I was at the beginning. Where are we now? Near the beginning of September, I think. We took a trip to the Midlands for a few days with the kids, and I found out I was doing my route from Devon up to Ulster, where we were staying. Realised that I was passing the door of Bidford-on-Avon, where PowerMax are based.
All right.
So I was able to convince my wife that on the way back, the day we were coming back, I was going to take a detour and I was going to find it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it is on. I didn't get to see the building itself. I saw a hint of it. I saw the trucks, BTCC trucks parked up. It is on an industrial estate just behind a housing estate.
All right.
So from what you can see, it doesn't look like they're one of the most funded ones there. You know, I might be wrong. It might not all be about that, but what they're doing,
I go more
humble.
to the car. Yeah, I sometimes think, if it's an old car, maybe they haven't quite got the money to have the up to date machinery, but
they're making it
They
work.
remind me a lot of Speedworks. When Speedworks first came in with the Toyota, and it was just a one-man band, really, with Tom Ingram and quite a small team. And you look at the way they've grew now.
Yeah.
And there's nothing suggesting that they couldn't do something similar, is there?
They're a team that
choice of drivers is just so shrewd as well. It's such a good.
I know, and I'm really hoping so. Aaron Taylor-Smith. I feel, when I came back to watching BTCC last year and I saw he was back on the grid, I was really excited because I've always been a fan of his. Seeing him in the Cupra on paper, we'll discuss Team Hard as well, I'm sure, in a separate entity, but the Cupra on paper, I think, should be achieving more than it is. And I felt that maybe I attribute his lack of success, as it were, last year, probably to that, because you look at him now.
Yeah.
Even if it's a mental thing, he's in maybe a better set of one that suits him a bit better. But that car is obviously doing things for him that the Cupra didn't. So, yeah. But no, fantastic day all around there. And just to spice things up, Ash and Tom Ingram having to pit amongst the plethora of people that did, and finishing right towards the back. So, It took a twist from race one, the title race, with Jake being up there, and Turkington didn't have a fantastic race one, did he?
He was similar, wasn't he? I think he went into the pits.
Yeah. Is that the race he incurred a bit of damage and he had to?
That was it. Sorry. Yeah, he got spun round, didn't he, on the first lap, and then I think he had to retire, actually.
Yeah. I think he did.
Yeah, I was thinking it was a bad pit stop, a bit like Knockhill. I don't know whether that was another race there, but no, I think he had two decent finishes after that, didn't he?
Yeah,
so decent-ish from where he started. So the last one was very decent, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And he was one of those, I think, you can almost predict what's going to happen by race 3 for some of these guys. If he's having as he's proven this year already, if he's having a bad race 1, you could almost guarantee he's going to be on the podium in race 3, because he knows what he's doing.
Well, it was quite an underrated drive from him in the second race. I think if Astra hadn't put in such an incredible drive, you think normally, I mean, Colin might have been starting further back. So what I imagine he must have been the first retirement. So I imagine he must have been starting flat last. Probably. So maybe sort of 20 round about 20, or at least around about 25th. Yeah, 25th to 7th. Is a pretty good drive in itself, and it almost went unnoticed because of what Ash and Tom did.
On. Yeah, exactly. Race 2, a lot of talking points there. I think it was a fantastic race. I will give it that.
A stunning race. Yeah,
I absolutely love seeing. This is where you get to see the passion. This is what drew me to people like Jason Plato back in the day, because when they need to, they will pull drives out like this.
Yeah.
If you've got someone of that caliber starting towards the back, you better bet on they are going to be at the front.
Yeah.
Towards the end. I mean, controversy. We will mention it. We won't get on our soapboxes too much about it, but there's been a lot of debate about the nature and the reason of the safety car in that race. I was really confused. I don't have a strong opinion either way. I'm not sure how much it really influenced the result, as a lot of people do, but I was really confused as to why they did it.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, well, I got called an idiot on Facebook for saying they shouldn't have bought the safety
Emotions
car.
were running high, if
So he said, "Oh, well, you expect the marshals to run the track with cars?" I said, "No, I never said that. I just didn't think it needed moving up." But then I spoke to a marshal on there, and he said he's regularly seen bigger pieces of debris on the track before that haven't been been the safety car out before, and it was offline as well.
Yeah.
When you think it's all right, we can all be a bit jobsworthy or nitpicky and say, "Oh no, if a car goes over and gets a puncture," and George Gamble did have a puncture. We don't know if it's from that, but if we're going to be like that, though, why are we putting stuffed barriers at chicanes then? Because that's as much of a hindrance, if not more, than having a little tiny piece of debris that's about the same size as that mat on the track. And
it did look like they were just wanting to spice things up and they had to find a reason. And I hate to think that, because this isn't WWE. I'm going to tick off a lot of wrestling fans out there that I was with back along, but this isn't scripted.
No, but the race, it wasn't even a dull race, though, was it? See, sometimes if it's a dull race, I can sometimes have got a problem with bringing a safety car out. But it was all, Astra made a brilliant drive. He was already up to seventh at that point.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure he would have even got on the podium if that safety car hadn't come out. Because the top three, and particularly they had such a big gap.
Yeah.
I don't know whether Jake would have still won, because I still haven't been able to really find out whether he had this electrical problem when the safety car came out.
Yeah,
whether he could have managed it and maybe limped across the line and maybe at least took a podium, and he would still been ahead of Ash Sutton, and then the title would have at least been interesting.
Yeah. That's the other debate there, is whatever happened to him. Because it happened on the restart, obviously it does evoke conversation about, was it caused by that? Was it something that obviously because he had to slow down and then keep the heat in the tires? Was it? I don't know if it's electrical. Surely to God, these things are going to go.
He said it's happened before this season and he's been able to get through it.
Yeah.
But like say in a race situation, when you've got, sometimes you can be, even if you're eighth, you can be 4 seconds ahead of the car behind, and you might be 8 seconds ahead of the car that's 4 places behind. So you would never really notice it as much.
No.
That was the only thing that didn't sit well with me, was just that the safety car. And it's not because we've got anything against Ash or anything, because we've said many times how highly we regard him, and he's a legend. He's one of the all-time greats, and so. But I suppose it's more from a point of view of being a touring car fan and wanting the battle to remain as close for as long as possible and to go down as close to the end of the race, and for it to sort of all come undone for such a small reason as a piece of debris like that. I just thought, really.
How crucial, I mean, we can probably look back on this when the season's over, how crucial a decision was that in determining where this title race went. Might still have gone the same course. We don't know. Yeah,
I do think it would have done. I still think Ash would have won it, but it's probably more for me just the fact of it would have been nice just to really close it up and
just leave it to do its thing. That's I think what I was thinking at the time. If it wasn't necessary, just let the race play out as it's supposed to. These guys are doing what they have to do. If Jake was ahead and he would have won, he deserved it.
But it's almost like sometimes there's a bit of like ego, I don't know, with the powers that be, where it's almost like we're not racing drivers, but we can almost manufacture races from sitting in
We're
a control
producers and
booth by
directors,
by
you know.
by adding hybrid, the boost, medium tires, soft tire. We can manufacture a result. We can shape the title by doing this, that, and the other. We've got all this power and control. So it really makes me sound really paranoid, but I just think
There's probably some, you know, an element of truth in that, you know. Yeah, I
just let
mean,
them race.
there are people making these decisions. You know, it's not just like everyone's got the same car. Off you go, see who, you know.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people that complain about the single class competitions, particularly those that support the BTCC, that they're boring because they're all the same. You know, surely that should remain quite exciting because it's down to the driving. If you've all got the same machine, pretty much,
Yep.
it's down to your driving, how much you want it, how good you are at it, and the best wins.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, though it's not that long ago. Well, probably is actually, but it was only 1996 that we introduced safety cars to touring cars. You would regularly watch races from 94, 95, so and there'd be cars littered all out in the gravel
That's
traps,
right.
and
Yeah.
right down the edge of the track. Never mind pieces of debris. It's
Yeah.
like where are we going?
Yeah.
How far? What's it going to be like in another 10 years? Are we going to start bringing it out for pieces of marbles on the side of the track, pieces of rubber?
Health and safety
Yeah,
gone mad.
yeah, it's but well,
At that moment, that safety
it's
car
still a
moment,
fantastic race.
it was.
What did you think? Because I've seen another thing that people have been complaining about on social media was drivers moving out the way.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up actually because right after that safety car incident, obviously the one guy who really benefited out of that because of what happened to Jake Hill was ATS, got in front. He was chasing his first win since Rockingham 2016.
Yeah.
And everyone, I feel, wanted to, and I'm not being biased, everyone would have loved to have seen that. And then you just see Mr. Sutton carving his way through the pack. And yes, in certain positions, and Ingram as well. And you had people like Ronan Pearson, you had Dan Rowbottom, and that. You knew as soon as they were in a hair's breadth of them, that position was going to go to Sutton or Ingram. And people outside of their teams as well, not just their teammates, I've heard. You know, there were other people kind of giving nods. Did not Aidan Moffat? Didn't he
Aidan Moffat
put
did.
indicators on or something to?
Yeah. But I mean, they were teammates, weren't they, in the Infinity? But I think, to be fair, Aidan did seem to move out the way and let Ingram through just as easily. And then Ingram sort of like lost the back end of it, didn't he? And he allowed Moffat to go back or get his nose back, and then Ingram sort of finished it off and down the start straight. So
I can get it. I can see both sides. It's like, yeah, okay, they obviously know who, you know, if you're not battling for anything necessarily championship wise, you know the guys that are, but surely unless you're under team orders, a bit like you can understand when Camish and Rowbottom and Osborne do it, I suppose. But when other drivers from other teams do it, I don't know. It didn't sit right with me.
do you think drivers really fight hard enough to defend positions these days?
Not these days, no.
It seems to be like from seventh to first that fast. Now maybe it might just be that Sutton's car is just so good, and there's no way to coin the Charlie Cox phrase. It's like trying to hold off the Terminator with a water pistol, and they think there's no point. But you just think, there was nobody that seems to even like just for a lap or something, just to slow him up a bit and create a bit of a gap. It was like he was just literally going past everyone, so almost corner to corner, wasn't it? There wasn't like a lap where somebody was fighting tooth and nail, thinking, I've got a podium at stake here, and I'm gonna do fight nail to protect it.
Yeah, I mean,
it just seemed a bit too easy.
If he's that good and the car's that good, again, absolutely fine. If they were doing everything they can and they couldn't fend him off, that's one thing. You just can't stop that. But I don't know. Yeah, they just seem, maybe the rules and regulations are so extreme, it seems, this year that some of the drivers.
Yeah, but you think that would help the car defending, wouldn't you? Because it's not like the old days where you can get a little tap and they go through.
No,
it'd be harder to pass, really.
But it might be the guys in front don't want to get because who was it? Was it Ingram got done for not leaving Jake Hill enough?
Was Watson up there as well at that stage? think he was, wasn't he? But I think his tyres might have been going up because I think he seemed to drop back quite quick.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jake Hill had a problem anyway, so he's almost out the equation.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. I haven't got a strong opinion either way on that, except for as long as that was the result that he earned, that they all earned, then brilliant.
Maybe this is the reason why. If some people say, "Oh, well, there's no characters in it anymore. There's no, nobody wants to upset anyone." Well, maybe this is why the drivers deliberately don't upset people, so that when you get to a position like that,
maybe
people aren't going to fight you too hard. Maybe I don't know, because then they know what's at stake.
If you're too concerned of ramifications, if you're not letting the car through again, I think it was Ingram and Hill at the last meet. Ingram got penalised possibly, or at least he was under investigation for not giving Hill enough room or something. And you wouldn't have seen that. You wouldn't have even heard of that back along, really, being an issue. That would have been welcomed, because that's part of the magic. There we go. But yeah, I mean, one of the best races I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it doesn't. We're debating and agonising over it. Like I say, I wasn't happy with it, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it was a stunning drive from the sun, and it was just a fantastic race. I was gutted for Jake Hill. I've become a big Jake Hill fan this season, but it wasn't to be.
Wasn't to be, and I know I think he ran into the last meeting last year still mathematically in contention, and it was a shame really that he couldn't go into this year's in the same sort of position. Even if he was an outside chance, it would have been good to see sort of 3-horse race. But
yeah, and I think when he sits back and he reflects over the winter, Colin Turkington's a class act, and Jake Hill has blitzed him this season.
Yeah,
and that's no mean feat. I haven't seen that, and nobody at BMW has done that before, have they?
No.
Colin's always been the number one, playing the simple. None of his teammates have ever really come close to him. I think for Jake Hill, well, obviously Andrew Jordan did that season.
Yeah.
And then Jake's come on the scene, pushed him hard last season, but then he's gone.
It. Yeah, I was going to say he was really knocking on the door, and it's almost a case of Jake has been on that upward trajectory since last season, and Turkington's just not, as he,
I think we've touched on it before. I think Colin's always been a very smooth driver, hasn't he? And I think his style really suited that BMW. I think that this car now, I don't know whether it's the age of it or the shape or what, but I think now it's a car that really needs to be thrown about almost a bit, and you've got to be really physical with it. And I think that suits Jake Hill's style.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot about Sutton, Tom Ingram style in Jake Hill, and I think that suits that. Whereas I think maybe the smooth way isn't necessarily suiting that car at the moment.
Not the new generation that we're looking at coming through. Making myself sound old here, but you can see the guys who are driving a certain way, and they're the ones at the top. So just to box off race 3 then. Talking point number 1, Michael Crease. It didn't last very long, but good to see him on pole, first ever pole. Thanks to the reverse grid draw. That was good to see.
He enjoyed it.
He did. He admitted right before that. He did. That was it. And I just think he didn't get the best start. And this is one of those. One of those things that got me thinking. Is that Cupra really a race winning car?
I think it's got the potential. I really do. I mean, Dan Lloyd should have won in it, really, shouldn't he, at Donington?
He stands the best chance, I think, out of all of them.
I like Darrell De Leon. I think he's one to watch going forward. I've been really impressed by him, and I was pleased to see him score his first points at Silverstone.
Yeah.
So Dexter Patterson's another one to had some good results this season. And these are only young drivers.
Yeah.
I think that car has got a bit of potential to it. Yeah, I'd like to see how it goes next season if they stick with it. Maybe they might be beneficial for Team Hard just to get the best results out of it. Maybe just to streamline it a bit down to 3 or 4 cars.
Well, this is, and going slightly off piste of race 3 for a second, but I saw an interview with Alan Gow over last weekend, and he was saying how his mission is to get it down to 24 cars on the grid.
Yeah, so that I agree with him. Yeah.
Yeah, and the first thing that sprung to mind is you have got a team there with 6 cars that for me,
It's like having two
you're
guest
right.
cars almost, isn't
Yeah,
it?
if they streamlined the team and they put every effort into 3 cars, maybe you might see, more progress from them. And, I think they will probably be a casualty of this because they've obviously had issues this year in keeping bums and seats.
Yeah.
For one reason or another.
I agree. Yeah, I've always been one for sort of the less is more type of expression or quality over quantity. I mean, I love the 2000 season, even though there was only 10 BTCC cars. I think you had probably by the end about 10 Class B cars. But it was just really good racing and really good quality. I think every driver bar Rademacher won races that year, and he was a good driver and had a couple of podiums.
Yeah.
I personally, I would be really happy if we came back next season. There was only 20 cars on the grid.
Yeah.
To me, that would be a perfect number.
Yeah, because there's always a cluster of them which are gonna be at the back anyway, and I think it's become one of those competitions where maybe only sort of the half of the grid that you think are gonna be achieving points. You can predict it straight off,
and sometimes they can. I mean, it's pretty nasty. Well, not nasty, but not the best way. But sometimes I've called them over the years spoilers because the drivers that they're never going to compete at the sharp end for points or even in their own category. But if they're going off every race or every other race, constant safety cars coming out, and you get a really good race that just gets punctuated by a needless safety car because the driver's just gone straight off into the gravel, and you just think this is billed as the premier Britain's premier racing series, so that should be remembered when they're bringing some of these drivers in. If it's the premier racing series, we should be attracting the premier British racing drivers, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And I get money is a big factor, and if you come from a certain background or whatever, you're lucky enough to have the money to put yourself on the grid. Brilliant. But I feel you should bring more to it than that. Your ability on track, your competitiveness should make up most of the reason why you're there.
Well, I mean, I don't follow many motorsport series other than touring cars, to be honest. But there'll be people out there who do, and you can look around so many series in Britain because it's mainly British racing now, isn't it? We don't get many continental drivers, but there's so many. Paul Rivette was a driver for me that for years should have been in the touring cars, but he never quite had the funding. And there's been other drivers of that ilk where you think these are guys that have. They've gone up the ladder. They've won championships. They've won multiple races, and they don't get in there. Then there's certain other drivers who have got in there when they haven't really earned that right in the sense of winning races or winning championships on the way up to it. And for me, that's where sometimes the touring cars has frustrated me a bit over the years.
Fair point. Yeah, fair point.
Danny Buxton and Jason Pickford and so many drivers where they maybe only had one season or half a season, and Paul Rivette didn't get any, did he? Phil Glue. There's been some really good drivers that just haven't really had that. That fair break, I don't think.
No, and I get it. I think if a team's not going to pick them up or they can't bring, and this is the problem I think we've been having with Team Hard this year is. A lot of these decisions and driver changes have been down to money. I haven't looked too far into it. I don't know if it's the team, if it's what the driver's bringing. I don't really know how it works. But
you never really get any answer, really, do you? There's never.
No,
it's really become a championship of very little information. I mean, I remember back in the day, I used to get Autosport religiously. Back you didn't really have the internet back then, and you always seem to get tidbits of information, whether it was squabbling or people.
Yeah.
Criticize. You always knew if a driver left the team exactly what had happened. And now you just don't seem to get it, and it seems to happen more often as well.
And it's all these. nobody wants to get into trouble by, divulging information that is unfavorable to anyone. And sometimes I think, just be transparent, and at least that will stop the speculation in the fan groups, because everyone's got their opinion, and all of a sudden someone's
Constructive criticism sometimes, rather than it, that seems to have gone out the
yeah,
out the window now. It's
yeah,
I'm never been one for ripping into people or bashing people, this, that, and the other. But you can be critical in a constructive way and honest. And that sometimes now it sounds like that's completely out the window, and you just get it. It's easy just to say absolutely nothing.
And as spectators, fans, followers, however you want to kind of pigeonhole us, we may not know the mechanics of everything that goes into running a team, the cars themselves or anything, but we watch it, we follow it, we love it, we have a certain understanding of things that are going on, and we pick up on stuff, we have our opinions. That if you want to speculate on something, there is an easy way of kind of letting us know that we're on the right track, rather than just kind of shutting people down and we're not going to tell you anything, but please don't say that.
Yeah,
you're just going to fuel the fire. But anyway, there we go. I think down the line we need a Team Hard episode. I'm really again.
I like Team Hard. I'll be honest.
They are one of those.
I know that sometimes they make a rod for their own back with these driver changes and stuff, but I've got I've got a lot of time for Tony Gillam, the way he's tried to build that team up, and he would drive himself first, and whenever I see them at the paddock, they always seem to be the friendliest in terms of fans. I've seen Tony talking to fans, and the drivers always seem to spend more time in the pit lane, mingling with fans than a lot of others, and it does always seem like a good atmosphere there, but. Yeah, sometimes I do think even for the best, surely if they'd round 4 cars this year, and it gives them that bit of extra funding then to put into those 4 cars, they get more competitive, they get better results. But I mean, I did get a response from one of the Team Hard social media crew, because I said, after Bobby Thompson left, I said, don't need in crew sort of reward money anymore, and he said, no, you don't get any reward money in the touring cars. So.
Okay. That
if you did,
an impact in it.
Bobby Thompson might not have lost the drive. So
no, it'll be very. They're one of the couple of teams that actually I'm very, very interested to see. And I'm not willing this season to be over just yet. But for next year, it's like what changes will be afoot, and I think then Team Hard, I think, are one that will have to register some kind of change.
Just to streamline, I think, because I think the potential's there, and I do think they're a better team than where they were 5-10 years ago. For sure, but I just think sometimes it's maybe they have too many things to organise. Perhaps doesn't help, and don't forget, it's not just running those cars, expensive that, but if they've still had the same kind of crew working on fewer cars, surely that can bring the best out of those cars as well.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah.
But let's just discuss then the high points of race 3. Obviously, great win for Colin Turkington. Did I hear right? 150th BMW win. Did I get that right?
It was, yeah.
That's for some reason I had in my head that it would have been higher than that by now. But that's a cracking milestone too.
Was it 150 in BTCC, or was that? I think
it was. Yeah,
they would have won a lot of races in other.
BTCC. So
It's quite a high feat, that though, isn't it? Because I don't think they came into it did they really till probably 91. I'm not sure whether they were about. I'm not sure whether they were about in the 70s and 80s in the championship.
80s they were, because you had guy Frank Sittner.
Of course,
he was the main guy in the 80s.
Yeah,
but
Mike
there was
Smith.
probably only a couple. Yeah, there probably was only a couple of them around. Whereas then it did kind of become. You saw more of them, I suppose. With more
I was thinking from sort of Bickley onwards. Yeah,
but good for Turkington to be the one to bring that over the line as well. So
definitely. I was going to see Colin win, and I hope I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like we've maybe started to see the decline of Colin Turkington this year, and not declines in the fact that he's useless, because he certainly
no.
isn't. And I think he's had a lot of bad luck this season, but
Yeah.
it maybe in terms of challenging for titles, we might have just seen the end of it. And he's still won a lot. He's won more races this season than he has in some of his titles winning seasons. That might be the Colin we start to see now, where he'll, rather than winning maybe titles, he might just keep racking those race wins up.
Go for Plato's race win
Yeah,
record.
yeah.
Probably, he'd probably on the grid. He's the closest one to it, I would have thought. That's still going. So
I mean, you don't know. Matt Neal won, and Jason Plato both won titles when they were well in their late 40s.
Yeah.
So and Collins, he's still only 41. So he might have something to say. It might just be the car. Maybe they might get to grips with the car or something, and he comes back next season and
bring back the one series.
Me look like a fool, like an idiot.
Bring back the one series. It looked like they got a bit more pace about them, like they did back then.
I hope so, because I still would love to see Colin get that 5th title.
So I was going to ask this. So I mean, let's it's not going to take a lot of predicting, I don't feel, for this weekend. I think we're going to see some drama. I do feel that Ash has done enough already. I think he won't need to do as much as Ingram will, obviously, to win the title this weekend. That'll put him as joint, with Turkington and Andy Rouse, the most championships. Who out of the two of them then stands the best chance of getting a 5th?
It's got to be Ash, hasn't it? Really,
that's what I was thinking. He just seems to be just at that point. If he wins the 4th,
well, he's not
very
even,
achievable for him to do it next year. Even
he's not even 30 yet, is he?
No.
Or has he just turned 30 this season? I can't remember.
I think he did this season. Yeah.
So he's still. I mean, he's still got a good 15, 20 years at the very top level. I mean, and he could blitz every record if he's in it for another. Even another 10 years if he's in it.
That is it. If he has got time on his side, and he could do the 5th, he could smash that record in the next couple of years if he wants to.
Yeah,
really.
Well, he'll be there or thereabouts. I mean, NAPA aren't going to go away in a hurry, are they? And that car's still going to be ultra competitive next season, and in the hands of Alliance Racing.
Alliance, I know. Yeah, that'll be weird.
But, and it's I mean, can you make predictions for next season while this season's still going? But honestly, I can see him winning it again next season already, because someone's going to have to really come out the woodwork.
Well, I mean, with this, you touched there on the change, Motorbase becoming Alliance, and that they're expanding. It just shows the scale at which they have grown, and they continue to grow. The fact that they are moving premises and they're getting somewhere that big. Next season, Christ, they're going to be probably ahead of where they are this season, and hardly anyone's been able to catch them this year. So.
The only thing I can think is hopefully that NAPA were out really early this season, and they've shown everybody up in how early they were out. Professionalism. Tom Ingram's kind of alluded to it at Donington. It took him until then to really get the car how he wanted, which just shows how important it is to get your winter testing in and get the car competitive right from the off. Yeah. Hopefully, a lot of these teams will see that and they really up the game over the winter and make sure that they're the ones that are out first over in testing.
Yeah,
it might make a big difference next season. I think I read somewhere. Toyota really going big on motorsport at the moment. Have we gone? Yeah, and I'm sure I read it somewhere. I don't know if it was some other formula or whether it's motorsport in general. And I wonder whether they might be the ones who at some point, whether it's this winter, perhaps up their game more than most and really go big on it and maybe pump a bit more money in. And I don't know, would they maybe look at tweaking the driver lineup?
Because they're the one that
really become championship challengers, because otherwise, what are they there for? Are they there just to make up the numbers? Surely it's like go big or go home. And if they really got I can't remember where I read it now, but it was somewhere where they're taking the motorsport really seriously at the moment. So why not go full tilt at the Touring Cars Championship next season?
Well, they're one of those teams where I'd like to say they're there or thereabouts. They're
a good team. Speed works well, aren't they?
And they've been they have had guys. You take Ricky Collard even has had a better season this year than he did last year.
They've
Roy
all had bad
Butcher's
luck, haven't they? Yeah.
yeah, that is it. But I think they've been impressing me because they've been in the top 10 consistently.
Yeah.
Pretty much every meeting I think so far. So they are one of the teams where you don't expect them to be up there, but they are.
I wonder if you might get something like a situation, something like that did happen, where maybe Dan Camish maybe gets looked onto another team because Dan Camish is a champion in waiting. It just doesn't seem to be working for him though, does it, at NAPA? I mean, we can probably go into this more when we do our driver review of the season, but he's a driver that I rate really highly. And you look at what he's done in Porsches, he's a born winner, but it's just whether it's just bad luck, but it's like
There's
two
been an element
seasons
of
where
that.
it just hasn't gone since Croft.
Yeah, I was going to say last few meetings, he's just been one thing after another. He had a horrible weekend again last weekend for
He was in a 2 or 3 year old car, wasn't he? There,
yeah, and
which can't help.
How much being in a team with Ash Sutton is going to hinder you.
Exactly. Well, that was going to be the next thing. Yeah. You might have to leave if you want to win it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because, team orders, I don't like to think they are that rife, but NAPA have been very open. So they play tactical and you can see that. And they are all team players. But Dan Camish wants to win the title. And like you say, he's
too good to just be to sit there like a lapdog.
Yeah.
And if there is a team out there like a Toyota or somebody maybe that thinks, look, we want to go big next season, I think Dan Camish would be the perfect driver to say. And there's other drivers out there as well. I still think Tom Ingram can come back next season, but it's just so hard at the moment to look beyond NAPA and Astra Sutton because they're just so far ahead of everybody else.
One thing I will sort of finish on this point, I think, because I didn't want to let it slide. You pointed it out quite rightly. On social media over last weekend, went under the radar. Josh Cook winning the Independence Drivers' Championship. Whether it's because they kind of based that on the fact that nobody could catch him, but they couldn't really make a big thing of it until this weekend. I don't know why it went kind of a little bit quiet. But
there was a single post, was there? I actually went back on it. I went back on it and
one motorsport did one themselves, and that was it. He is one, and you can sense the frustration in him. And I think, hearing he and Shane Edwards talk last weekend about the focus being the independents, obviously Josh winning the drivers and they're in the running to win the independents teams. They don't sound like a team that are willing to settle for that. They feel they should be doing more, and Josh sounds like he should be. He's expecting a lot more of himself. He should be, he should be competing more for the championship. Is that with One Motorsport, do you feel, or is he another driver that may benefit from going elsewhere?
Yeah, it's got to be a team that's really got that ambition to look at what NAPA have done this season and say that can be us if we get our act together over the winter. And that's Josh Cook's another prime example, mate. Just like Dan Camish, where if a team really wants to make a big statement and really push for it, there's drivers there that can potentially do it. And Josh Cook's another one, that's. But could that even be One Motorsport themselves? Because they've almost had a major transformation this season. Is it them who's got a lot of the team dynamics crew in there? Is that where Barry Plowman is and someone else here? And Matt Neal has been there as well.
Barry Plowman's with Team Hard. Barry Plowman, I think, is battered between the two. He's mainly been with Team Hard. But he was, at least for, I don't know, a few weekends or something, he was with One Motorsport as well. Because, I think they've been
the Honda link, because I remember them saying, Barry Plowman built that Honda and now he's working on it. It just seems to flow. And I think maybe Matt Neal was another one. I heard somebody say, he's with Team Hard. But when we were at Croft, he was always around the One Motorsport because they were racing at the very end. And he's got
to have some investment in there, hasn't he?
And I just thought with that Honda link maybe, and it was quite a late decision, wasn't it, with Team Dynamics not coming back, that maybe they sold a lot of stuff there. Maybe some of the team went there. So they could be a team maybe they can just find a bit of extra funding that they really
They
it
look
comes
like a
down to
team who should have that. I mean, they really, it's a very professional looking car. They've got a professional setup. They are a
it's a
team.
natural car, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
car that's won so many titles.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Dominant, most dominant manufacturer in it, aren't they? I think over the last 20 years, and they won more than Vauxhall now. I think
I don't know. I might have to go and hunt that out. Probably.
it's not close though. From
To be fair, as
2001.
far as titles go, yeah, because I don't think Vauxhall didn't. They
Well,
didn't win it all that much.
Michael Shevens won 3, and
Yeah.
Matt Neal's won 3, so there's 6.
Yeah.
Then Vauxhall obviously clean sweep the first sort of 4 years, didn't they? The new regs, and then
Yeah. And
Giovanni
Clellan
won
got
2, so
2.
it's probably about 6 each.
Yeah,
Oh no,
I think,
then Andrew Jordan won 1 though. So
yes. There you go.
Honda probably has won more titles than
Yeah.
Vauxhall now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There you go. Well, we shall see. Anyway, this has been a fantastic. I've really enjoyed this one. It was a great weekend. A lot to unpack from that. A lot to look forward to this weekend. We can all kind of safely say we can probably predict where it's going, but hopefully there'll be a bit more excitement along the way.
yeah, just want to see drivers now. It's the last race. Just go and enjoy yourselves and give us some entertainment and something. It's the last race of the year. Give us something to take into the winter.
And ITV are broadcasting all of the sessions. I think that all of the races, even the support races they don't normally show from early in the day, will be on
Some
their
of them are
YouTube
streaming,
channel.
aren't they? Yeah.
Yes, I mean they're getting behind it, which would be really good because I know from when I was at Thruxton, you probably testify when you've been there at the meets this year. There's some great racing that goes on that you probably don't see or people don't take note of. Under the main event. So that'd be a good weekend. Good weekend. So there we go. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Lee, for again, another very engaging, fantastic episode. Guys, find us on Facebook. We'll be putting some stuff out, no doubt, over the weekend, as things unfold. And just keep telling anyone any motorsport fan, BTCC fan, if they're not listening to us, tell them where they can find us. We're on all.
And just to go back as well, what we said, we touched on in the first few episodes, we're looking for people out there that want to get involved. People that have maybe they want to discuss something that's a touring car.
Yeah, we have
something that's touring cars, whether it's present, whether it's past, whether they've been involved in the championship somehow.
Yeah.
We want to tell all sorts of stories on this channel. It's not just all about the current.
I mean, during close season, we will take a little bit of a break, sort of when the season closes out. But we are looking to come back and do a few specials during that time. So it'd be great to reach out to us on Facebook. We've also got an email address which you'll find on the notes on the podcast episodes as well. Get in touch, and anything you want us to talk about, but anything that you want to come on and talk to us about as well during that time.
That's it. If you want to be listening to touring cars over the winter months, keeping yourselves entertained, give us some subjects that we can dig up, and you've got a show to keep listening to during those boring, long, dark winter months.
And they are boring from a touring car fan's point of view. It all grinds to a halt quite literally, and it's a long few months. So no, thank you guys for listening in. Keep listening, keep plugging us. Shout out again to Kev in the BTCC chat group, still the source of all of my information except for the BTCC website, really. So you can always trust him to have the latest news on there. And Lee, we'll catch up in a couple of weeks, mate. And we can finally discuss where it's gone and give our take on where it ended up. So enjoy.
Yeah.
See you then.
Take it easy.
Cheers, guys.